Okay. Hi. So here I am, Rachel Crow, interviewing my very wise friend and my Reiki teacher, Lianne Holmes. And throughout lockdown, it's been amazing because we've had some beautiful Zoom calls with each other, been actually linking up more than we have in years. So there's been a beautiful opportunity there for us and our other Reiki peers to get together online and do group work. And we've had such interesting conversations that I said to Lianne, let's start recording these conversations because I'm sure other people would benefit from them. So we're going to talk about time, aren't we, Lianne?
Yes, thank you, Rachel. You are absolutely right. I think this time that we have had in lockdown has given us an opportunity to reflect on many things. And it's lovely having this time to be able to share some ideas and some thoughts on the nature of time.
So you've
Thank
been
you.
looking into the Greek times where you were talking earlier to me about this, the threes. The Greeks were big on their threes.
They are indeed, um, the nature of time, according to the Greeks, is divided into three. And because they like to make it very clear, they use words that are not only that we can relate to in the present time, but they relate to gods of their pantheon. So, for example, Chronos, it's seen as the god of time. He's usually depicted as an old man with a beard and sight, looking quite old and ferocious. When Chronos,
a bit like the image of death.
absolutely, absolutely,
Coming to take away your time.
It takes away your time. Absolutely. The story goes that he ate his own children, so he was not a particularly nice idea of God, but he was afraid that his children were going to become kings instead of him. That's until his wife hid one of his sons from him and gave him a stone to eat. And that's how his only son, Zeus, was able to live, which later on dethroned him. but
well,
that's the nature of
the order of nature, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next generation must come. So then the second one is Kairos. Now, Kairos is a very, the way I see him in my mind is like a young person that goes to a festival, very active, full of life, full of joy. Kairos is the god of lucky time. I was saying to Rachel, I don't know, shall I share the example that I give? Would you like to share it?
But the mole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like this. So the game Whack-A-Mole, where they're popping up and you're missing them, and it's like it's this time of opportunity where there's something there that you can grab hold of, and that opportunity it will come back, it'll pop back up again. And I guess for me, kind of reflecting on my own life, that maybe when you don't get that, maybe the lesson, it will come back and it might be a bit tougher. I mean, I was just reflecting on it was about 3 years ago, I broke my wrist, and I absolutely refused that would take me down, and I was going to carry on, and I was going to not ask for help. And and actually the lesson was surrender and ask for help. And that maybe a couple of years later, my next diagnosis really knocked my feet out, and I had to, in that opportunity, surrender and ask for help. So yeah, I was just thinking that maybe those moles that are popping up, but they could be amazing opportunities of abundance, or opportunities to step on a timeline of complete flow. And maybe it's about a big change in life, who knows. These
Absolutely. Actually, the Whack-A-Mole also prepare you for the next time the mole would come out, you were ready.
Yeah.
In a way, the next opportunity presents itself in your life, then you're ready for it.
Yeah. It's a bit like that. There's a story, isn't there? I can't quite remember it, where you walk down the road and you fall in the hole, and the next time you walk down the road you fall in the hole, and then the next time you walk down the road you walk around the hole.
Yeah.
Like eventually you kind of realize, okay, that you know, I need to take a slightly different way on this one. Yeah.
So in a way, Kairos is what you choose to go, where you choose to step.
Yeah.
Rather than stepping through the hole and falling down, this time you choose to step
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would do it. And then the last time is Aion time. Now, Aion is seen as young man-child. I would say almost like a teenager. And there is circle. He's holding a circle, which talks about everything is cyclical. I think the only word that they use, I would say that we use now, is eons.
Yeah.
To talk about the cyclical nature.
Yeah. Although I guess for me, the word eons makes me think, you know, of the much bigger cyclical nature, the kind of, you know, millennia almost, you know, from the Big Bang to, you know, maybe all the seasons and cycles the Earth has been through with the dinosaurs and the ice ages, and, you know, those much bigger cycles that we don't get to see because we're not here for that long. But you know, almost even trusting that maybe what we're going through now is one of those, you know, bigger picture cycles that we have no idea what the outcome is going to be, but just to kind of trust the process of, you know, this is part of nature, you know,
Absolutely.
of our nature of time.
And one of the things that I think is really interesting is they see Aion as being generous and happy. So meaning that we are gaining something from the eons. So that time is not like Chronos time that eats its children, but Aion is generous and happy. Is there to give us lessons. Is there to give us gifts.
And as you're talking, Jill, I'm feeling this massive like an expansion of time. It's like, it's generous. You know, as we look at our watches and it's like, oh my God, there's not enough time. There's never enough time. And actually that, as you were talking, I just almost felt this expansion of this, oh, there's eons. There's so
Eons.
much time. You know, if you, maybe if you can step onto that, almost that timeline of kind of flow. And
it's almost like eternal youth. Because it's eons, and that's why they make it that is not quite a man, it's not quite it's just in between. It's an eternal youth.
Yeah.
That we're always learning, we're happy, we're feeling generous about our time, and then being able to look at time in a different way, in a much more expansive.
So would you say that that would be the time that you drop into, say, when you're meditating, when you're journeying, you know, the kind of the shamanic, otherworldly kind of time? Yeah.
You're basically going into parallel time.
Yeah.
And that's what Aion is. It's forever. It's everything. It's not Chronos, but it could be. There could be a time, a chronicle time. Let's say you woke up today and it's a sunny, beautiful day, and at 9 o'clock you have made an arrangement to meet with a friend. So you meet with your friend at 9 o'clock and you go for a walk in the forest. It is beautiful. The sun is shining, it's warm. You are so happy that you met your friend at 9 o'clock and you share a moment of bliss because everything is just as it should be. And you feel it inside of you and you're sharing that. Aion time. It can happen again.
Yeah.
You can have the opportunity, but it's also Chronos time because you met at 9 o'clock and it happens to be 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it's also Aion time. So all three can condense into one.
Mm.
And it goes back to, it's all one.
Yeah.
We are all one.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? So we kind of make these little maps for ourselves, or these images, or these kind of labels, and then you look at it all and then realize it's all one.
It's all one.
Yeah.
And we are all one.
Yes. Yeah.
Even with time.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we discussed this because sometimes it's good to visualize it. That famous anecdote of the tree that begins from the beginning of time as we know it to the end of time.
Mm.
And imagining a tree that big. And that tree has branches. And we are in one of those branches. Our DNA, in a way, is our branch because it's our ancestors and we're following along that branch. And then the choices that we make. So the tree is time, the chronological time from our ancestors to us, always growing in one direction. That's chronological time. Then as we are in that branch, the choices that we make are Kairos time, because that's the way the branch goes.
So they're the little offshoots that kind of,
yeah,
there's different choices to be made along your branch. Yeah,
exactly. You're still part of that branch, but you have choices to make, and that's Kairos time. And then if you think about above the tree and below the tree, it's still unknown. The tree doesn't know whether it will rain or not, whether it will be cold or not. And you don't know how deep, what kind of soil is that tree growing in? Is it a good soil? Is it dry? Is it? So although we're going in our branch in chronological time and Kairos time, the above and below, which is part of the tree, because it benefits the tree, is Aion time.
Yeah, and I like to think of that those two spaces above and below the tree are kind of the magical space, aren't they? They're kind of like the quantum field, you know, where you go when you journey, or where you meditate, or you know, that kind of, there's opportunity, there's, you know, there is the absolute unknown, which is the mystical realm, isn't it, of just being in the unknown and trusting the unknown. And you know, it's like the trusting that the rain will come and the tree will grow, and trusting that the sun will come up the next day and it will get sunlight that it needs.
And the general, almost the thing that is behind it all, it is generous. Aion is generous. So you almost imply by that it will be good. Whatever happens will be good in the end. Once we understand it, but the branch doesn't understand. Why is it raining at a certain time? Oh, thank you. Why is it raining oh, thank you, my love. Why is it raining at a certain time? Or why is it dry? The tree doesn't understand. The branch doesn't understand, but it is all part of it. It's the sum and totality of it all. I think it's a good way of, it is everything. So the tree is not just a tree, it's the above and below as well.
Yeah, it's part of
the whole. Like us, isn't it? That we are who we are. We are part of our ancestors, but there's much more to us.
Yeah, it's
that
beautiful,
we understand.
Beautiful analogy. I mean, I like when I do kind of meditations or journeys, imagining myself as a tree. You know, I think that holding the above and the below, and the time, or the, you know, 3D reality of kind of our bodies. It's that, you know, that's what we've come here to be. We're souls being put into these bodies, which,
absolutely,
you know, we can look at a tree. I've got this most amazing tree just outside my windows there. It's enormous. It's the same age as me. It was planted the same year I was born, which I loved when hearing that when I moved here. And just watching it through the seasons, watching the leaves coming out, they're just starting to bud now. It's really beautiful.
And what type of tree is it?
It's actually a tulip tree, and I had never heard of a tulip tree before. It's quite amazing, and it does have some medicinal properties, but they were quite yeah, nothing that I kind of related to myself, because I thought, well, maybe it's a medicinal tree, but it's beautiful. It's quite unusual.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Actually, it reminds me of um, when one of the exercises that I did in a class that I've been taking was about if you were a tree, what sort of tree you would be. And I couldn't remember anything. And then it just popped in my head, the sequoia tree, which is I saw in California. And it just popped in the tree. So I thought, oh, well, I would be a sequoia tree, blah, blah, blah. And then it was suggested that I investigate a little bit more about it. And it's fascinating, the story of the sequoia tree and how, those horrible fires, those forest fires in California, well, they are needed for the sequoia pine cones, almost, that the little cones to open. They need that fire.
They need the
so
heat.
Even something you would say is so terrible, it's actually good in the long term, because it will be opening up the new seeds to allow the new trees to grow.
It's almost trusting the cycle, isn't it? Trusting the cycles of nature that we have no control over.
It's
and
like
we try to control them, and we build our houses too close to places where things like that happen, and then we get frustrated.
It's like the eternal story. It just makes us reflect on the eternal story. It's not just the here and now, but and it brings back. It's all circular, and it brings us back to the journey, Joseph Campbell, Journey of the Hero.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think I heard this, that there's going to be a Matrix 4 coming out soon. So the Matrix, it's very much in my mind. I love science fiction in every form, but I hear, oh, Matrix 4, this will be exciting. And the Matrix basically is Joseph Campbell, Journey of a Hero.
Yeah.
You get the call, you have to act, and then here it goes. And when you learn the lesson, you come back.
Yeah.
And you realize who you truly are, and then you share it with others.
Yeah. And then maybe you get on the journey again.
Yes. Oh, well, the other journey will be waiting for you.
I've been through a few of those in this lifetime. Like, again, how many more times?
But I think the interesting thing is how you always come to share the lesson with others.
Yeah, and that's always felt so important to me, is to, that other people can learn from our journeys. It's kind of, we can share what we've learned, and also by doing these journeys and healing these parts of ourselves, we're creating a ripple effect, which I think is why we're in these times at the moment, because I think so many of us have done so much healing work that it's kind of almost created like this birth canal, or kind of like a pressure cooker of, whatever it is that's going on. It feels like this ascension or a rebirth or something. And like we started off talking about this time that we have in lockdown, that there's been a lot more time for reflection, a lot more time to, for those that are home with their children, to actually have kind of, much more special, intimate times with those that we're locked down with. And I know for some people it's been difficult, and for other people they've, it's blossomed relationships.
Wouldn't you say that also consciousness about what is happening to our environment, and consciousness about where do we want, what choices we're going to make?
Yeah.
It gives us time to reflect on what is my next step, rather than, oh, well, I only have half an hour, I'll see you, rather than doing that. Now we have time to reflect and see what really has value, which in a way is how we have reconnected our friendship. The friendship was always there, it's just we didn't have time. And it's the same with many things. So now we have created time.
One of my friends years ago kept talking to me about the slow living movement. And that was when I was living in a city, working full time. Just because, like, what is that? But it's the time we've been given now, isn't it? That actually, do we need to earn so much money because we're not going out so much and spending so much?
Yeah.
It's kind of like reflecting on what's important. And those things, for me, it's been a massive kind of, actually what's important to me is connecting with friends, spending more time with my family, having that quality time,
Absolutely.
having a cup of tea and a Zoom call with a friend, just,
Exactly.
yeah, because
And
that
actually,
ultimately it's just about love, isn't it? Sharing love.
it is about sharing love. And actually, reuniting, in a way, I feel the consciousness is not only ours, but that of many working together.
Yeah,
So it's an awareness that we are one with our friends, with our family, with the world,
yeah,
and
yeah,
seeing all the missteps that, or that we consider missteps
yeah,
in the world, as far as governments and things. And it's like a pendulum, isn't it? It swings one way, then swings another, and just being aware that eventually you'll swing in the center. But
yeah.
you have to you have to be calm, and you have to be at peace, to
Mm,
just observe, and knowing there's more to it than meets our eyes.
yeah. And when the pendulum's swinging, it's kind of like, if we can stay centered,
That's the idea.
that's the main
That's the
thing.
idea.
To be the tree, put your roots down, reach up.
Yep. And you say, yep, this too shall pass.
Exactly, exactly.
So, which bring us back then to Eos time, and then we can be okay. And then they'll go, what's the matter with her? I'm saying this and she's not arguing. Doesn't she say, people, it really bugs a lot of people when you're,
Okay, you're not
this thing.
reacting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But there's a magic
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
And the magic is you are able to feel what you want to feel, but not feel what the media or the surroundings or the person that is telling you wants you to feel.
mm,
You're feeling what you feel for yourself, not by the surrounding. You're not being pushed around by the surroundings and the
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. No, and that's it feels like that's so important at the moment, because I can see a lot of people struggling, and I just keep going, just go into your heart. Your heart knows, or talk to the earth, because she knows as well. But yeah, when the chatter out there gets too much, go inside. Yeah.
Would you say, Rachel, that the way that we've encapsulated, um, I think it's something that perhaps uh, just gives people a little inkling, and then they can go and research some more
Mm,
and see what there's a lot of really interesting things that are being done with time. The scientists, we didn't explore the scientific side, but we could titillate people with a few words like entanglement. Go check it out.
yeah.
It's really interesting, and things like that.
Yeah.
So, there's a little bit of me as well that loves science. So I thought, if we're talking about entanglement and time, traveling through time, the physicists are doing some very interesting experiments along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we could always explore some of them in future talks
Yeah. Well,
if people
watch
want to.
this space. Yes. The conversation may continue. Well, let's leave it there, Lianne. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I look forward to what the next installment.
Oh, okay. Thank